14,094. The Era of Turning Points. Youth Demanding Suffrage 3-3.
Let's briefly examine what religion actually is. Today, humanity has schools, right? Schools. A school is a place where one acquires knowledge. Well, we have acquired all the knowledge now. The era of acquiring knowledge is over. That is why using AI allows us to secure far more knowledge. But teaching knowledge is over now. So what should schools be doing today? Schools need to find what they ought to be doing now. There are schools, and then there is religion. Schools are places that teach knowledge, right? Schools teach knowledge, that is school gyo. But there is another gyo, which is religion, jongyo. Does religion teach knowledge as well? Religion is a place that teaches the truth. Going to a religion and constantly making people cling to a deity is a misconception. That is, trying to create devotees and making devotees out of our citizens and all people of humanity is what religions are doing today. Devotees, those held captive by spirits. They keep driving people to become devotees. Gyo means teaching. But the reason it took the name religion, Jonggyo, is that it placed the very high-quality character Jong at the front. A school is a place for scholarship and acquiring knowledge, so teaching knowledge is enough. Religion uses the character Jong, meaning a large mass, an endless core, the ultimate summit. Teaching this immense quality means teaching the truth. However, when trying to teach the truth, there was no truth prepared to teach. There was nothing to teach. So what do they make people do? They tell them to bow to stones, cling to trees, and pray to God, telling them to pray without even sleeping. God made us tired in the evening so we would sleep, so it would be fine to just say, "Father, I am going to sleep." But out of fear of not receiving more, people pray without sleeping. We need to know what true giving is. Giving a teaching is true giving. Giving gold pieces isn't true giving. Oh, honestly. Schools are places that give teachings of knowledge, and religions are places that give teachings of truth. Therefore, until people graduated from school and acquired knowledge, religion should have researched and organized the truth to teach them. Why? Because suffering and struggling people all went there. At that time, when people who had acquired all their knowledge from schools came out into the world confused and facing hardship, religion should have researched and taught the truth it had uncovered. We need to understand a little of what truth really is. Truth is finding the path for human beings to live by. Truth is opening the way so that a human can live properly as a human. Truth doesn't just drop from the sky, nor does it pop out suddenly upon enlightenment. All that time and environment were provided precisely to seek that truth. All those sick and struggling people, the patients, were sent there. Since there was no truth at first, 24 years were given as time to research it. If research had been conducted for 24 years after making people as smart as us, the path for citizens to live properly would have already been found long ago. And so, here is our digital generation. These people are our descendants. When descendants grow up, they need to receive education. The era of acquiring knowledge is over, and since this is an era of sharing knowledge where it can be obtained anywhere, it is not something obtained from professors or teachers. Our children are internet experts when it comes to navigating the internet. It would be enough to tell them, search for knowledge there, organize it like this and like that, and bring it here, yet people still try to teach it to them directly. So from our digital generation onward, they are the descendants. To educate these people, the adults above them must find what they need to be educated in and provide that education. And what happens when you educate them? Our children will be overjoyed. Then not a single one will die. Right now, there are no educational materials. Why? Because the places responsible for research didn't do the research, so educational materials were never produced. People just filled themselves with knowledge and lived according to it. And because that made living a bit easier, they only worked on their own lives and never conducted this research. Because they didn't do the research, what happens? Right now, our young people, our children, the digital generation, get divorced as soon as they marry. They unconditionally separate once they marry. Why? Because they received no education on what marriage actually is. When they get a job in society, they quit as soon as they join. Why? Because they don't know what they are supposed to do once employed. So when companies try to treat them like slaves just because they paid them a little money, they absolutely hate it. Intellectuals hate being paid a little money and treated like slaves. Are we slaves? Then they lose all desire to live like that, just being made to work because they were paid a little money. That is the problem with us intellectuals. Instead of working for a paycheck, we must be enabled to do the work we want to do. But such conditions do not exist in this society right now. It is due to an absence of education and a lack of educational materials that South Korea operates the way it does today. When we enter a corporation, why do we enter? What must we do? What do we gain there? And how should we grow so that we build a perspective to view this society? Corporations should handle things like that. And when entering the government as public servants, why did we become public servants? How must you grow there? What future connects and opens up so that you know what to do? These things must be taught, but they don't exist. Religions should provide teachings that resolve the difficulties when struggling people come to them. To say that bowing to a stone resolves hardship when someone is struggling, does that make any sense? Saying that clinging to Jesus will resolve everything? When I am struggling, how is Jesus going to resolve it? Jesus isn't coming back either. If Jesus came, we could just ask him. If he couldn't answer our questions, we could turn back. But Jesus isn't coming, so they tell people to look at that figure hanging there and believe. All these intellectuals were raised to teach such things properly. Yet they failed to develop educational content that teaches the principles of living in accordance with nature. Even now it must be done. There is no other way. As for who must develop this educational content, there are levels. There are doctorate holders, master's degree holders, religious figures who can be considered at the master's level, and religious figures considered at the doctorate level. They should gather with these individuals and conduct research. Why? Because they are all responsible for society. Religious organizations are also responsible for society. Who appointed them? God did. God commanded them to lead the people of society well, not to fight among themselves. They know God is high, and God told them to lead his children well, but they fail to realize how precious these children are. Now is not the time to cling to God. Since we are fully grown, God raised us, but now that we are fully grown, we must make God very happy. We must make our ancestors happy, make God happy, make Jesus glad that he made that sacrifice, make the Buddha Siddhartha happy, and make the past sages happy. Why? Because making them happy means practicing filial piety. Does making parents feel good count as filial piety? Making parents happy is true filial piety. How can we make them happy? What is true joy? We need to understand these things. True joy means that what really makes parents happy isn't buying them vitamins or giving them 3 gold bars. How do our parents become happy? When I grow up, live properly toward others, and live in a way that helps people so that I am respected and honored, and when my life becomes enjoyable. Only when I am joyful do my parents become happy. This is true filial piety. It's not about handing over material goods or building them a nice house. If you build a nice house, they say, "Oh dear, should I really be living in a house like this?" That's what they say. Now is the time to practice filial piety. Practicing filial piety means making parents happy. For parents to be happy, I must live joyfully. For me to become joyful, the work one do in this society must bring joy to those people. I said to broadly benefit humanity. When you truly benefit people, they become joyful. Then what happens to me? Who provided this joy? A joy of great mass comes to me. When we are joyful, our parents are automatically happy. Do parents become joyful? No. Parents who have sacrificed do not become joyful. No matter what, they cannot be joyful. Sacrificed parents, sacrificed ancestors, and God, who guided us through sacrifice, cannot experience joy directly. Joy is enjoyed by humans who possess a physical body, while happiness, gippium, spiritual delight, is enjoyed by spirits and our parents. Our ancestors become happy Gip Buddha, and our parents become happy. God becomes happy too. When they are happy, what happens to us? We become happy Hangbokata. Happiness is also not something God enjoys, it is something we enjoy. We are joyful and happy, and joy and happiness are what we feel. Only when we live joyfully and happily is our karma dissolved. Only when our parents are happy does their deep-seated regret disappear. That is liberation hatal, raising one's child well. This is what true filial piety is. For 5,000 years, our ancestors made endless efforts and developed logics to clarify filial piety. And today, you, the last descendants of the heavenly nation, born on this earth with a historical mission, are meant to find this answer and practice true filial piety. If we properly unpack this single concept of true filial piety and share it together, it will become educational content for all humanity. And this cultural movement will bring about tremendous achievements. This is talking about finding such fundamental truths. Then what is the fundamental nature of a welfare society? We must find this as well. What is the fundamental nature of filial piety? We must find things like this: what the fundamental nature of cultural enterprises is, what the fundamental nature of business is, and for what purpose religion has come down over thousands of years. Finding these fundamentals is the task of those born on this earth with a historical mission. That is why everyone was given talents and made distinguished. And that is why all the knowledge and culture created through the sacrifice of humanity was brought into this place. This place is an international research institute for humanity, a research institute to find fundamental truths. Hongik human leaders standing 1 against 100. Although you asked a small question, to solve even one thing, we must dig into the fundamental root to get today's answer. Then as we protest right now, is protesting all you need to do? If you protested today, tonight, or tomorrow on a day off, log on to the internet and AI to ask whether what you did was right. Ask whether just protesting is enough, using AI as a mentor. The results of protesting can bring you up to a certain point, but there is no future in it. It's not enough to just protest. If you protested today, you must study why things turned out this way, rather than just recklessly protesting. Why did this country end up with these results, causing all our citizens to come out under the scorching sun or shiver in the freezing cold to turn this country right? We must seek out why we ended up in this state, reflect on our own faults, and protest at the same time. There is only protesting, with no reflection at all. My perspective is not that your protesting is wrong, but that while protesting, we must discover what went wrong to bring us to this point and realize something deeper. Then we can pray, God, please help us, for we will never do this again, and protest with that mindset. Then strength will be granted. The world is watching us. Protesting is something all other countries have already done. We just imported it and are doing it. It didn't start with us. We did do it in the past, like the Donghak Peasant Revolution, but even there, contradictions existed. We must look closely and find out what are the pros and cons of this thing called protesting. That is what we learn within our knowledge. These are the kinds of things. So, if we are to protest, we must also find the contradictions in how our environment came to be this way. These events are happening right now to awaken the citizens. Yet, instead of waking up, people just yell, "Everyone step down, we'll take over." If it's handed to you, what are you going to do? Do you have an answer? You told the current mess-making government to step down, and so it was handed back to you. Do you have an answer? You don't have one right now. We ought to say, because we failed to do what we were supposed to do, things turned out like this, so let us work hard, conduct this research, and protest together. That's how it should be, but all people do is protest, protest, protest. Are you gangsters? Protesting must have a justified cause. Why are you protesting? If something went wrong, shouldn't you also effort to find out why an environment where things had to go wrong arose in this country? There is none of that. Because such events are happening right now to awaken and educate our citizens, we must do that studying. It's not about telling you not to protest, but even if you protest, you must find the fundamental root of that protest rather than hating someone. If my house isn't cleaned well and has high humidity, yet I leave it as is and keep boiling ramen to eat, more steam rises and humidity builds up again. Without opening windows or ventilating, woodborers love that environment. After constantly creating conditions for woodborers to thrive, treating the wood borer as an evil enemy and trying to kill it only after it gets infested. We must find out why this was bound to happen, clean it all up, and prevent wood borers from arising next time. Right now, the country is infested with wood borers. There is no organization that isn't infested. That's why I go so far as to say that every organization has turned into zombies, cleaning out your pockets, draining your nutrition, and sucking your blood. If we keep going without managing these things, we must realize that the very power that built the organization will ultimately strike our own necks. Since I'm speaking in a short time, I can't unpack every fundamental detail, but we hold the basic framework and will unpack these one by one later. Do you understand a little better now?